the next discourse is going to be about government as a catalyst powering digital transformation and trade for innovation. And I want to bring somebody from government. Whether he likes it or not, is a part of government, is the one to host this side chat. Mr. Aniedi Udo-Obong, a commissioner in Akwa Ibom, Commissioner Diaspora Affairs, Akwa Ibom State. I just appointed you. Can you clap for my appointee? You're welcome. You say?
Will I hit Esther Goods instead of one appointee?
No, this side we don't do Esther. You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, can you clap for Mr. Aniedi? If you know him, you will not wait for me to tell you to clap better. All the way from Silicon Valley, ladies and gentlemen, my friend, my brother. Sir, you promised me 2023 that you take me to Silicon Valley. You've left me in the valley without Silicon Valley.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, MC Holly, for the pseudo appointment. I look forward to fulfilling your prophecy. The next gentleman and possibly lady will be calling on stage actually doesn't look like a government panel. It's very interesting that right now in our technology ecosystem, we have round pegs in round holes. We have people who've been through running businesses, setting hubs, building talent, and today they hold very vital positions as we build the new fabric of digital public infrastructure in Nigeria. So please put your hands together as I welcome, in no particular order, Desa Sunday, Ahmad Mukoshy, Francis Sani, and if Victoria Fabunmi is here, she can join us, or she will be joining us in a few minutes. Please come on stage. Look at this. Yeah, fine. I want to say that it's only a coincidence that it's only men in tech on stage right now. I'd like us to go straight into the panel, and for want of forcing an error, I would like each of the gentlemen to please introduce themselves and the organizations whose mission you're driving. And I would start with Ahmad.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ahmad Mukoshy. I am the Executive Director at the Nigeria Internet Registration Agency, Association actually. We are in charge of the National Identity Online, the registry in the .ng. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Desa. I'm the president of the Digital Bridge Institute, DBI. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Francis Sani. I serve as the technical advisor to the Honorable Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, advising on innovation, entrepreneurship, and capital. And I'm also very privileged to lead the team that designs and implements the 3MTT Nigeria program. Thank you.
All right, we'll go straight to Ahmad. There's a lot of misconceptions about .ng domain. And for people who don't really understand what the registry is all about, what NIRA is all about, can you let us understand what NIRA is all about and what businesses stand to gain by adopting or using this our own identity infrastructure?
Yes, I think I would like to even see from the audience. If you know NIRA, please raise up your hand. I know and I've heard of NIRA. Please raise up your hand. Okay. I don't know NIRA, but I know what .ng is. I've heard of .ng. Okay, we've all heard of .com. .com, you know what .com? I've heard of .com. I want to see hands. Oh, there's no tech or internet people. Do you use the internet at all? I want to believe that at the very least you use Google, right? Google.com. Yeah. So the Nigeria Internet Registry is in charge of the national identity, the .ng extension. We are the governing body. We define the policies. We handle the infrastructure behind the technology that powers that extension. We also handle the registration process through registrars, which are private companies that become registrars with the registry by process. We also handle security for the .ng and also awareness. Part of our mandate started in 2005 during the tenure of President Olusegun Obasanjo. The Nigeria Internet Registry was enacted to handle this infrastructure and policy and also the identity of Nigeria. You can think about .ng as the same as our NIRA, the same way we have NIRA representing Nigeria worldwide, or the green, white, green flag that we have, the flag of Nigeria. The same thing you can also think about .ng as the national identity on the internet. Every country actually has something like that. For the United States, it's .us. They also handle the .com. For India, .in. For Germany, .de. And you can see all other countries. China has .cn. So this is what NIRA is all about. And we also drive adoption and local content. It's also part of our mandate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ahmad. I'll go straight to Mr. Desa. The Digital Bridge Institute. I think there are usually a lot of misconceptions about the Digital Bridge Institute, either as a government entity or an agency. While I'd like you to warm up and tell us about DBI, I've seen Victoria has walked right in, so I'd like to welcome on stage Victoria Fabunmi, who is definitely the woman in tech on this panel, and not a small one at that. Yeah, so Desa, tell us about DBI, the Digital Bridge Institute, and your role as president.
Okay, yeah, so I will also ask a quick question. Something like, how many of you have heard about DBI? Let me take it slowly. Digital Bridge Institute, DBI. If you know you've heard about DBI, we need to step up there. So DBI was established in 2004. We celebrate 21 years last year. It was established by NCC. If you can agree with me, 2004 was the period when we hardly would have the GSM phones. I mean, the GSM phone was not everywhere. When we had the Sendo phone and the 3310, that was really scarce at that time. So something phenomenal happened that was challenging to the nation at that era was the fact that a lot of the people who work in the telecom sectors were expatriates. They came all over from their countries. And when questions were asked as to why are Nigerians not working in these positions, the answers were usually like, you don't have people, Nigerians don't have people who are capable enough to occupy this position. So quickly, NCC set up DBI to help skill up Nigerian youths, to help skill up locals that can fit in this position. And so gradually, they faced all the expatriates that were in Nigeria and then began to fill up these positions by locals. And you can agree with me that 21 years later, we all have our people, our indigenous, our citizens working everywhere in the telecom sector. But what we are doing right now is currently repurposing DBI, not just to focus solely on the telecom sector, because I think somehow we've accomplished or we've achieved that reason is still what's said. What we are trying to do is repurposing. We have campuses across all the zones in the country. We have Adamawa, we have Kano, we have Abuja, we have Lagos, we have Enugu, we have South is Delta Asaba, which is yet to be completed.
I was waiting for you.
So probably that's why I'm here today.
We're glad to.
Support the ecosystem. So why this campus were built was so that the can at least enjoy a certain level of reach in the country. And what we are doing now is repurpose, trying to see how we can fit into the general digital literacy conversation, not just around telecom sector alone, because we are noticing, or we already know, that like it or not, there is a lot of gap, especially in terms of the number of young people that are skilled up to occupy global positions, especially in the area of tech. And then quickly what we're doing is to allow national priority of scaling up young people in every other aspect of tech so that they can be well employed and fit into global positioning. And then of course working with the likes of the entity and good thing that's happening to DBI today because we have a minister who is also from the ecosystem who understands the yearning and the problems within the ecosystem. And so we're working together all of us to see that DBI not only trains people, but kind of injects a lot of people with high skills into the digital economy.
All right. Very focused on skills, very focused on talent, filling up these positions that oftentimes are occupied by foreigners or expatriates. And I still think we kind of have people outside working for us, but it should not be as a result of absolute lack of skill. So I think I would just say it to you, Francis. You have a very strong vision and you're driving an ambitious project, 3MTC. What's the vision of this project? What's the role of talent in this project? And how far have we come? 3 million is a big number.
Yeah, 3 million is definitely a big number. I think that, to answer your question directly, we have a 3 million targets. While we have a 3 million targets, for us, the goal isn't to complete the number and say that we'll take out the box. The goal is for us to complete the number and for there to be visible impact on the digital economy locally in Nigeria. I think for a long while, the government said they've trained people, but when you look at the actual outputs of that and the quality within the ecosystem, it doesn't always match up. And what that meant is when we started to design the program, we're intentional about saying that we do not have all of the answers. This is one of the most ambitious programs in the world that we're trying to train people at scale. So it meant that we went into it with a mindset where we're going to be very adaptive and iterative. That then meant that we designed the program in 3 phases. The first phase was the prototype phase, where we said we're going to do the initial version of the program, learn from that initial version, then go into a pilot phase and refine during that pilot phase. And at the point where we feel like we can then scale it, at that point we can then scale significantly to our 3 million targets. So far we enrolled about 105,000 Nigerians in the program across every single state in the country. We have a pipeline of 1.8 million people waiting. We have probably been waiting for too long. But for us, the way that we need to think about it, if we are going to put public resources and resources of partners into a program, we'll rather make sure that the quality and the end of that program is higher rather than going for the numbers earlier. So we're now 105,000 people. Our completion and traditional rate is somewhere around 20%, which means that it's a very rigorous program. Of the folks that have completed the program, about not of 30% of them have gotten access to jobs, whether that's full-time jobs or gigs so far. But the vision of the program itself is to say, how do we use technology and how do you use the biggest resource we have at the continent and as a country to be able to change the face of the country? There are some statistics I will share that I always like to share. Number one is that by 2050, Nigeria is going to have the 4th largest population in the world. By 2050, Nigeria is going to be in the top 10 economies in the world in terms of size. But also, interestingly, by 2050, Nigeria and Africa is going to have the largest youth workforce in the world. The largest youth workforce in the world. Okay. Right. And the question then is that if you have all of that happening, how do you ensure that you are preparing the workforce for the ability to be able to create value? So for us, when we came in, we looked at the charts, and if you look at the charts, if you go online, check out the chart of the GDP growth of Nigeria over the last 40 years since the discovery of oil. what you find out is that Nigeria has actually been on a significant growth. You know, when people complain that, other countries have oil, other countries like Saudi Arabia and the likes, they have these resources, why are we not all, enjoying? The reality is that over the past 40 years since we discovered oil, we've probably added over 150 million new people to our population, right? And many of these other countries have usually compare ourselves against, in many instances, the average population is about 10 million. I think Saudi Arabia is almost about 40 million people. So the population has grown significantly. But also in that time, while our GDP has been growing, something has happened. What has happened is that the productivity and the number of sectors that actually contribute positively to the growth of Nigeria's GDP has actually been on the decline, right? The number of sectors that have contributed positively to Nigeria's GDP growth is less than 5. So on the average, many of the other sectors that are supposed to be driving growth in the economy have either been stagnant or been declining. So the productivity in our sectors, in many of our sectors, outside of manufacturing, outside of agriculture, outside of technology, which has then taken a lot of weight, has actually been declining. And I really liked the opening speech by Ansi at the beginning. What needs to happen is that we need to be able to figure out how to increase productivity in fish. We need to be able to figure out how to increase productivity in the farming industry, in farming. We need to figure out how to increase productivity in industries that we are not thinking about today. And those industries actually have significant traction already because our people are involved in it. How many people know that there's over 1 million people involved in the production of gari? Over 1 million, right? But go to the average place where gari is being produced today, and you know what is happening? They are still producing gari the same way they used to produce gari 50 years ago. Right? And that is, I think, is the next phase as we develop our ecosystem. That's the next phase we need to get into. We need to get into the phase where the people of Nigeria, the young people of Nigeria, are thinking about working on Nigeria's problems. Using technology. And that's the vision of Grey MTT. How do we upskill the young people to be able to understand the use of technology and innovation to drive productivity in our local digital economy? And how do we do that so well and create such a large number of people that not only do we do that for our local digital economy, but we create the talent that drives Africa's digital economy and potentially also drive the global future, the global digital economy in the future. Thank you.
All right, awesome. I think you've laid out some really very interesting statistics, and you've alluded to very real problems. Every time we talk about startup, we talk about talent, we talk about local businesses, or even when you mentor startups that come to you with pitches, asking you for mentorship, you're always talking about real problems, and it's sometimes very vague. So I want to really thank you for just nailing a very good job of specifying the talent we're building, what sort of industries can they really participate in. And this leads me, Victoria, we've not had the pleasure of meeting you, but from what I know, you're driving a lot with the Nigerian Startup Act. So if you can take us from who you are, the hats you wear, not just in office, and then tell us a little bit about what are the opportunities for digital trade, what are the opportunities for the startups who are coming out of all these talent pipelines to key into Nigeria.
Fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Fabunmi, National Coordinator, Office for Nigerian Digital Innovation. It's an SPV of NITDA, and how I primarily see our role within the ecosystem is a position to provide support to the private sector and the public sector in terms of utilization of innovation, adoption of innovation at scale. Today, what people primarily know us for is policy implementation for the Nigerian innovation ecosystem, but with focus on startup as a preferred mechanism for engagement. And that brings us to the conversation around Startup Act. So before I took this role, I used to be an investor, investing in startups. I did that for a number of years, and that allowed me to be well acquainted with some of the challenges that existed in the startup, that exist still today in the startup ecosystem. Switching to this role, what the Startup Act is meant to do is, one, help with creating an enabling environment for all actors actors within the innovation ecosystem to thrive. So it's called the Startup Act, but really, if you ever go through this act, you will find out that it's not just for startups. So one of the questions I typically will ask when I'm engaging a panel is, how many people have read the Startup Act if you're a startup? Yeah. So this is the challenge that we have as a nation. We typically are not interested in the things that are supposed to make our lives easy. The idea of the Startup Act is that it is supposed to help with creating an enabling environment, focusing on critical pillars required to catalyze growth, right? One of the things in the Startup Act is access to funding, is tax and fiscal incentives, it's capacity building, it's creating access to market, it's creating collaboration across regulations so we don't have regulatory somersaults that regresses progress made instead of advancing progress made. And so that's what we've been focused on for the last 24 months. The Startup Act was 3 years in October.
Okay.
Progress that has been made is we're working to the setup of the National Council for the National Council for Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship. I typically refer to it as the silver bullet for the ecosystem because it has the presidency as leadership, vice president, the coordinating minister for the digital economy, as well as high-powered ministers like Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning. You have ministers across critical, CBN governor, who are across critical sectors with the capacity to make decisions that impact startups. Last month, we announced representatives to the council from the ecosystem. Hansen is one of them. Can we give him a round of applause, please? And the goal is to ensure that we have people who are acquainted with the challenges and come up with the right intervention that can be, that policy can change at the very top. So that's what the Act is about. It's for creating an enabling environment. It's for helping to ensure that entrepreneurs in general, particularly innovation-driven enterprises, can take the full benefits accrued to them under government.
All right. Thank you very much. There's been a breadth and a spectrum of interventions and initiatives that you all have mentioned, and I can see the thread of things talking about prosperity for the people, talent being built. I think my first question, trying to bring it home here to Akwa Ibom, will go to Lisa. You've had experience in the hub and hub. You've had experience in one of the first versions of a state NITDA, you call it that way, a state ICT development agency in place state. And now, after seeing startups, communities, events, hubs trying to find their place, you're now the president of DBI. How do you think these threads weave for a state like Akwa Ibom, we're here, playing to Africa's new tech destination? What are the ingredients you actually need to do, from talent to even embracing things like Startup Act, maybe domesticating? What are those things we need to do that actually accelerate our journey to Africa's new tech destination?
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will just start by taking us back when we started the first innovation hub in Jos. It wasn't, nothing was ready as at that time. We added no policy, we added no people, we added no investors, but what we had was belief. So to start an innovation ecosystem, we first of all have to have the belief. Innovation is not made through funding alone, but you have to have the belief first that you want to make this happen. And that is why personally most times acknowledge yourself from Akwa Ibom, but Adsin also, who have been consistent and remarkably doing well, especially in making sure Akwa Ibom is in the map, like that's on the map always when it comes to technology creation. But something remarkable happened. After a few years of setting up the hub, I was appointed to serve into the state government for a period of 4 or 5 years. Talents, when we build talents leave. Talents are usually attracted to where the demand is. I was telling somebody that the people you train, the talents you have 5 years ago in Akwa Ibom, I can bet you they're no longer in Akwa Ibom. They've all, because talents are always slow. The curve is always sloping from supply, from where the supply is to where the demand is. So you always have Lagos coming. You always have Lagos coming to take, just the way they took you Aniedi before you eventually left.
But I'm still here.
So a lot of things must happen. First of all, government must play a key role, especially in terms of policy, to sustain this talent that we are developing here in Akwa Ibom. And secondly, we must churn out this talent because investment will look for where the talent is. Businesses, we say talent is an enabler of investment. Once there is a lot of talents in Akwa Ibom, a lot of companies come to Akwa Ibom to come and set up their company. Because organizations are looking at, companies are looking at, tech companies are looking at where they can set up faster, where they can have the talents that can help them build, where they can have talent that can help them sustain. So what it feels is mostly that when you train 500, you have 300 living, you have 200 left in the ecosystem. Over 3 years again, you have, out of those 200, you have like 100 leaving you with like 5 or 10 at the end of the day. And then any time you relax, anytime there is any form of relax, you lose all your talents to Lagos or to wherever they're going.
Wow.
So you must continue. There must be consistency in the way we churn out talents, especially in subnationals like Akwa Ibom. By training 5,000, you have to double to train 10,000. If 5,000 are leaving every year, every month, every year, you have to double up to train 10,000 so that 5,000 are left behind. And this 5,000 will have this people for training more. So talent is key. The availability of it is very, very essential for investment to come to Akwa Ibom. It is the talents that comes in first. That investment comes in. Once investment comes in, they retain this talent locally, and then more talents are built, and then you have more investments coming in. So basically, that's what we try to do in Jos. But I can tell you, at some point in time, we also relax a bit. That's why I'm sharing. This is personal experience I have. Yeah. So we must have a lot of efforts from the private. We must have policies that are on ground to support this talent growth, and then we must also have policies that attract these businesses into Akwa Ibom. Like, we started a project called the Silicon Plateau Learning Plateau. Yeah, this Silicon Plateau is still going on anyway, but it's just an idea about how Plateau State can be transformed into a talent hub for technology. And what Akwa Ibom has that is unique, that is special, is the fact that the youth population is here. I mean, and this is the raw talent that is needed to start any innovation ecosystem. Secondly, you have the peace. I just said that Akwa Ibom is one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria. So every
round of applause for that, please. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yeah, you deserve that, to be honest. So everything that is needed to make Akwa Ibom the zone, the technology tech zone for the South is already here. But all we need is more efforts. All we need is government, somebody to push this conversation across the government line. I mean, seriously push it into the government line. We can very much have a special zone that whether it's special economy or whatever it is, but it's a zone that actually is set aside to actually bring these technology companies into it. But like I said, we must have the talent. And that's why a project like Trinity is key. Yeah. Because as much as we are able to sustain the development of talents, knowing fully well that there is a leak somehow, somebody call it osmosis. There is osmosis happening. Yeah. A lot of the talents are moving, and so we must have a lot of this talent coming in, and that will go along with it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Peter. I'm going to switch the conversation back to infrastructure. Ahmad, first of all, if I use a .ng domain name, does that make my website faster? Does it make it more secure? What are really the benefits of using the .ng national identity for a business or a startup? And what do you think are some of the misconceptions why people are not using them? Why do people feel even when they want to start a startup tomorrow, they should go register at .com instead?
I think there's a lot of misconceptions actually. In most of the events I attend, I tend to those kind of questions thrown at me. Why should I use a .ng instead of a .com? I think my answer always starts with, why should you be a Nigerian instead of a foreigner? .ng represents Nigeria. One, it gives most of its technology behind control, behind reachability. For example, now, I don't think any of us here could have access to the registry in China, if you register a .cn domain name and there's an issue or whatever it is, that you can actually reach them. So ability to reach the registry within your sovereignty gives you some control. Gives you a lot of leverage, some level of control within the policies in the country. That's one. I think the second thing is it gives you also the control in terms of infrastructure from the registry. Also, it adds value because you can actually have more domain names available in the .ng than you will not have in the .coms. I'll give you an example. A lot of people try registering domain names. Go try, for example, a .com registration for your company name and see what happens. Chances are there are already a lot of businesses using that name, or it's already taken, you don't have it. Coming back to .ng gives you some availability and affordability because you pay in NIRA. That's to begin with. It's cheaper. It gives you equal. When I say equal, I mean all the infrastructure that powers the .com is the same infrastructure that powers the .ng. So there's literally no much differences, except that you also have advantages. I'll give you more advantage examples. For example, if you're using a .ng domain name, you get advantage with search engines. Google is going to give you access to the Nigerian market, and you'll be prioritized when it comes to Nigerians searching online. So for your businesses that you're running within the local jurisdiction, it's important that you even have your .ng domain. And most of these names are available. Today, at .com domain names, there are over millions of them. We are still at the early stage when it comes to .ng. Currently, we are having just about 200,000 names registered in a country of over 20 million people, right? 20 million businesses, I mean. By statistics, I think there's over 27, 28 million SMEs, and we just have 200,000 names registered. So you can, give or take, you would see that you have a lot of room to get exact name that you want. I've seen personally a lot of businesses that come with just a one-word name or their .ng. For example, you could say travelwaka.ng or travel.ng or jobs or those kind of names. You can actually have them on the .ng that you cannot have on the .com. So there's a lot of advantages, and I can go on and on and on. But basically, I think it's we should also remember one thing, that the .ng is not just another extension. It's our passport. It's our gateway to the internet. And it represents Nigeria, and the foreigners are also seeing what we're doing. So if you build a tech startup or a business and it's on .ng, you are more or less clearing the air in the global space of the narrative of bad Nigeria, fraudulent, whatever it is. You are now showcasing that you can actually build technological stuff and build solutions and use .ng domain. Thank you.
All right, that is really very, speaking about cleaning up the identity of Nigeria in cyberspace. International trade, exporting our technology, I think within NITDA and ONDI, there's some new things you're bringing together, like the trade desk and actually the trade desk department. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What is the potential of technology export? And like you're saying, we're here in Akwa Ibom State. We don't want to export our talent completely. We want to be able to export our technology. What are the infrastructures or some of the policies you're putting in place for people who really think of staying back here, but really want to access an international market?
Thank you. Earlier this year, in January, the Federal Executive Council approved for the Technology Export and Digital Trade Desk to be set up under the Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy. And the whole idea for setting this desk up is to provide support to our innovation-driven companies with respect to market access. So AFCTA has been around for about 6-7 years now in terms of implementation, and one of the things we keep on talking about on the continent is creating a corridor that allows trade happens seamlessly. The easiest, when you think about trade, especially digital trade, the easiest bit to, and I won't say easiest, but easy to implement because the digital has minimal divide. It can move across borders quickly. Is on the technology side, right? If you think about the innovation ecosystem on the continent and you think about startups in generally, one of the data sets we use today is unicorn status. 5 in 9 unicorns on the continent are Nigerian, which means over time we've built capacity to build solutions that can truly scale, at least based on this data set. Today we have about 430 fintechs, which makes up 28% of the entire fintechs on the continent, right? And again, some of these fintechs are unicorns in Nigeria. The question we try to solve on the desk is how might we create opportunity for market access for our own innovation across the country? If we think about some of the everyday solutions we use today, a lot of them are foreign. We don't even know where their offices are. For example, Slack. How many people know where Slack office is? Even if you know, it's something that you've seen on the website, not because you know where the physical office is.
Yeah.
But you use those solutions every day.
Yeah.
Same for Gmail, same for Microsoft. And so we ask ourselves, how do we support our own indigenous technology companies to become everyday names in other markets? The goal of the trade desk is to support and amplify access to new markets, leveraging government and government policies and incentives as that pathway to going into new markets. One of the things we started doing earlier this year are trade missions, where we engage with other countries, and through those engagements, we showcase our startups, show them opportunities that exist in those markets that they can take advantage of, and they can use that as a pathway to going into the new market.
Okay, so we really look forward to learning from you and from people on this panel how businesses, the startups, and the talents can take advantage of things like those trade missions. So now that you're here, later today you hear pitches from some of the companies that have scaled through our rigorous process. And thanks to Ibom Air here represented, there's a prize for innovation that we really hope that the talent we're building are building the businesses that can take advantage of the corridors that you're creating. But it still comes back to talent. And while we sort of take our set of last words for this panels for the next session, I want you to give us a vision of the future. I feel the fact that you're very honest about your 3 million target and where you have gotten to with like 150,000. Some people wouldn't reveal those numbers. What next? How do you satisfy? How do you partner with DBI? How do you work with the trade desk to understand what the startups need? What is 3MTT going to concretely do to change the game and not just be another government program that came and went?
I think we're doing that already. To be honest, I feel like we're still in our pilot phase, so we're not really bothered in terms of timelines. The reality is that if the right things are in place, we got 1 million applications within 3 weeks for the program, right? Without just from a single tweet from HM, never done TV, never done paid ads. So we think that when we have the right thing, one thing that Nigerian youths have shown is that the energy is there and the readiness to be able to take advantage of those opportunities are there. But the question is that what opportunities are you giving to them and what capacities are you giving to them to also be able to create opportunities? To your point, I think there are a couple of things that we're really focused on. Number one is that the ecosystem that actually continues to not just deliver the implementation of the skilling for 3 million, but I would continue to do it afterwards, right? Yes, today we have about 200 partner implementing centers across the country who are supporting us with the implementation. But for us, it is to say, even after 3MTT grows, how do we support these organizations to not just be able to do upskilling, but to be able to continue to play a key role in skilling, in the digital transformation in their local communities, and in job creation within the local communities. So strengthening the ecosystem of organizations who are involved in the value chain of skilling is extremely important to us. That's number one. Number two is that today, I think the number of our people who are involved in the formal sector is less than 10%. Right? Our informal sector makes up most of our economy. Over 90% of the economy is in the informal sector, which I think is an incredible opportunity because it means that the ability to be able to move that informal according to international standards to us using technology and innovation to bring as many of the folks who are in the informal sector today to the formal sector, not necessarily by making everybody download an app or everybody use software in the traditional sense, but in terms of increasing their ability to create value, right? What that also means is that the organized employment sector does not have the capacity to be able to absorb all of the people that we are training. So from a job creation standpoint, it means that we have to think about this from multiple angles. When you think about it and say today, the formal sector that does exist, how do we collaborate with the formal sector to be able to ensure that their needs are being met as much as possible?
Yeah.
More importantly though, how do we support the informal sector to be able to ensure that they're able to uptake as many of these talents as possible, or for the talents that are being developed to be able to create jobs in the sector? Number three, the world is a big place. How do we equip the young people who are being developed with the ability to be able to create services, to be able to create solutions that allows them to be able to tap into the global digital economy as well?
All right, so 3MTT is on ground. You're a representative of 3MTT, or even one of the brains behind 3MTT. Are you okay with people within this audience, when we network during lunch, coming to ask you about 3MTT? Absolutely. And how to tap into it?
Absolutely.
Even if there are 3 million people?
I don't mind.
Tessa, Ahmad, Victoria, last words. You are in Akwa Ibom. I know you've enjoyed your time here. What's the last word for the people when you think of the institution you represent and the opportunities that they may not be taking right now? Just very briefly, what do they need to do to tap into what your organization is doing for the federal government and for the people of Nigeria? How can Akwa Ibom people key in? Very briefly.
Again, I'm excited about the pitch sessions that are coming up in a few hours.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is the Nigerian Startup Act is there. The local content policy is there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of regulation that you should be aware of and you should be riding on to build scalable solutions. ONDI is available to support. NITDA in its entirety, I think there are about 7 people from NITDA in this room today, are available to also support. So take advantage of the opportunities that are available to you, and you absolutely can be the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think at the registry we have an interesting thing. Part of our mandate is to support local content. And from all I see in Akwa Ibom, I could see a lot of tech startups thanks to Innovation Hub. And we have a lot of openings, or let me say support for creativity that is local. So feel free to reach out to the registry. We have specifically funds for that. Then also in terms of adoption, we are also in awareness. Whatever we can do, we will to support the adoption of the .ng. So startups should be free to reach out as well. Lastly, it's our identity. I don't think the registry is the only sole body to be responsible for our identity online. We are a governing body. We are setting out the policies and the infrastructure. But I think it's a thing for every Nigerian to participate. So feel free, it's an open door. Send whatever suggestion you have. And I saw that in the first question, ask people who didn't know NIRA. I think it's part of your responsibility now to have to know what NIRA does. We are here to represent you. We are not here to represent ourselves. So it's important that you know what are we doing and how can we represent you properly. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Over the past 1 year, Libya has been trying to expand its campuses across Nigeria. We've seen the likes of Benue State, Plateau State, Ondo State who have engaged interest, and we are open to further this conversation with Akwa Ibom State government. And remember, I mentioned earlier that talent, availability of talent, enable investment. So we are open and ready to to come into Akwa Ibom State. We are currently undergoing a lot of restructuring currently. So DPI is looking at certifications that meet some form of global standards. So we are coming very, very big. So it's actually the best time for Akwa Ibom to get into what WDC is doing at the moment. And quickly, before I drop the bike, some few years ago, when Sinchaga started new lessons in George, we were all excited because we thought the composition we had started earlier was paying off. And then something happened. After 2 years of new lessons in George, they moved out. And the reason SIM gave was the fact that George lacks inter-regional connectivity airline. Now, this is exactly what Akwa Ibom has. And this is what Akwa Ibom is not selling to the world. Because to be honest with you, Akwa Ibom needs to be packaged as a product and sold to the world.
Wow.
That's exactly what I'm going to say, because you have everything to make Akwa Ibom the regional tech zone.
That's a very powerful ending statement, and I can see a lot of people nodding their heads, including the MC, who I know has very specific questions that are above my pay grade. So I allow you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, thank you very much, sir. You've been marketing this state, I don't know why. That is very natural. You said initially that this state is very peaceful, the most peaceful. Now you said we have everything to make this state a regional hub. Can we clap for Mr. Deza? Well done, sir. So, sir, what's your perception about Akwa Ibom State? Yes, sir. Is this your first time?
This is my second time in Akwa Ibom. And
Okay.
the first time has been many, many years ago. I think during the Hansen brought me for the first time, 2015, 2016, around that time. That was the last time I was in Akwa Ibom. And to be honest, there's one thing that I said then, and I'm still seeing it now, which I think if you are here and you're Akwa Ibom, please, I want your round of applause for that. Because I came to Akwa Ibom, it was clean my first time, and I come back the second time, it's still clean over these years. This is fantastic and wonderful. I strongly agree that it's the cleanest state. I've been to many states in Nigeria. I think more than half the states in Nigeria I've been to. And to be honest, that cleanliness means a lot. Being able to keep the environment clean. I tend to ask questions, how do you guys do it? You know? I think it's part of the culture to make sure that the environment is clean.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's how we roll here. I know, come on, that's how we roll over here. But have you tested any of our delicacies? Have you tested?
Yes,
Yes,
there's
I have
one soup
tested-
you ate last time.
The last time I was here, and which I have to try it again before I leave, was the fisherman soup. Yeah, it was one of the best things I've tried. Then lastly, I think I saw serenity. This morning I was talking to Victoria, and she was like, "Did you notice the quiet ambience environment?" And I just closed my eyes and could hear the sound. I just shut down my eyes and I could hear that there's nothing, like there's peace in the environment. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Oh, she's from here. No, madam. Don't say anything. She shouldn't say anything.
The thing about ecosystems is that ecosystems require certain components to be available for ecosystems to thrive. And I think that similar to what Daisy said and what everyone has said, at this particular point in time, Akwa Ibom has a couple of those things. Number one is Akwa Ibom has connectivity in terms of
Has what?
connectivity.
Connectivity.
The ability for you to be able to get into Akwa Ibom and out of Akwa Ibom. Not only that, since Ibom Air came onto the market, Ibom Air is the most premium brand when it comes to air travel in Nigeria.
Don't say. Come on.
Right? And I think that needs to be marketed from an excellent standpoint.
Stop
Because people
it.
have tried it, and the ability to be able to stick to that excellence and be consistent with it for a long time is something that should be marketed better. That's number one. Number two is that the talent, right? Over the past couple of years, when you think about the South and the source of talent, where talent is, Akwa Ibom has stood out. Akwa Ibom has talent. That's number two. Number three is that people want peace of mind and people want an ecosystem. When I was coming in this morning and I was looking across just the landscape, just even if what you do is you offer helicopter rides, people to just move around and see the landscape, that's significant enough. And when you then have culture, number four, Because the thing about it is that it's not enough for it to just be a place. It needs to be a place with a soul. And Akwa Ibom has the culture and has the soul. And I think that over the next couple of years, as long as the government continues to invest into that, as long as the people of Akwa Ibom, local and international, continues to invest into that, the sky is the limit.
Oh, Madam Victoria, Akwa Ibom has a soul. Just talk to us about the spirit of Akwa Ibom. Let's just... Yeah.
I think honestly they've experienced it in the space of what, 2 days? From the time you arrive at the airport and just driving into the main town. You can, one, it's clean, air is clean, there's no noise. We're beginning to see a lot of interesting solutions coming out. In my mind, we've kind of created an environment that this becomes the next destination when you're escaping chaos. So the women, and please don't take it out of context, we're very, well, not the women, the people, we're very hospitable, we're very kind, we're very welcoming.
Yes.
If that's been your experience, that's been my experience. The food, we pride ourselves in being able to cook good food. When he says the soul, it speaks to everything about us. So I think in my mind, as you're going back to Abuja, Jos, where you're coming from, Lagos, you need to start to talk about what you've experienced here. We need to start talking about what we've experienced here. And it's a good opportunity to tell everyone that Akwa Ibom is open for business. If you're a startup in any other environment where tax is choking you, I think you should start thinking of relocating to Akwa Ibom.
Danny, you here? You here? Start relocating to Akwa Ibom. Are you just... Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please, can you put your hands together? Can you put your hands together for... Ash, please, your photograph, please. This is the first time I heard that Akwa Ibom has a soul. My God. This same Akwa Ibom where we did excellent stuff. Those are commendations from our guests. You that you're here and you're from Akwa Ibom, can I see your own commendation via your applause? Can you clap for this state? If you agree to everything they've said about this state, can you clap? Can you clap? Can you clap? Is that how